Hey y'all, it's Emma, and I can't tell if I'm a Ryan Murphy fan. Last week, Netflix released The Politician starring Ben Platt. I binged it in a day and a half, and I can't tell if that's because it was good or borderline absurd. Let me explain. I'm going to talk about the show without spoilers, and rather than focusing on specific plot elements, I'm going to focus on my reactions and make broad generalizations. But if you've seen the show and you want to talk about it, feel free to talk to me on social medias. I'd love to talk about it there. High school senior Peyton Hobart is obsessed with becoming the president of the United States. He's spent his whole life figuring out the common factors between the modern era of presidents to figure out how he can make his dream a reality. That means he's got to do two things: become the president of his senior class and get into Harvard. And he'll do whatever it takes, just like a true politician. Prior to this, my only experience with Ryan Murphy series was Glee. I watched it in high school, but I did rewatch it about a year ago, and the whole time I was watching The Politician, I was constantly comparing it to Glee. Murphy does a good job of creating high school shows about what adults think is happening in high school. The students in the series express themselves eloquently, in a way most high school students, and even a lot of adults, can't. The show touches on topics from depression to anxiety, from ambition to betrayal. And by talking about so many topics, it becomes more relatable. There's something in there for everybody. But what the show focuses on the most is how we are all alone. And that's the most relatable thing. By watching The Politician, we feel alone together. For me, that works up to a point. It blurs the line between high schoolers and adults, which becomes problematic in storytelling. Also, the show is a play on Santa Barbara and modern politics, so it deals a lot in hyperbole and parody. Obviously, the show is an exaggeration, but it clearly takes influence from modern events, like the case of Dee Dee Blanchard. With that in mind, the messages of the show become a bit muddled and unclear. All the characters are so driven and goal-oriented that they fail to see the impact that they're having on the world around them. I think the show would sit better with me if the less exaggerated characters had more screen time. It would have strengthened the show to have River on a lot more. As you can see, the writers are clearly using him as a way to funnel their voice in. But it's fun to explore chaos and the more aggressive parts of characters. That led to some of the most absurd stuff I've seen in a TV series in a long time. One interaction was so beautifully wild and bizarre that I showed my roommate completely out of context, and she thought it was really funny. That being said, some of the show really drags. With so many crazy plot lines, eventually we crave normalcy. Like with Glee, eventually you start to think if these high schoolers can deal with everything the show's throwing at them. To the show's credit, The Politician does have an episode where a character who's not part of the main storyline is experiencing what's happening in that world. By doing that, we get to see truly that these characters are abnormal, even in this world that they've created. But that episode was so frustrating in its own right that it almost made me stop watching the show entirely. Plus, there are unnecessary musical numbers. Ben Platt is obviously incredibly talented, but when his character performs, it feels forced and out of place. His love for music is a plot device that doesn't fit his narrative. It just forces the story where they want it to go, even though it doesn't make sense. So I'm going to talk vaguely about the last episode of the series, and it does kind of tiptoe into spoiler territory, but if you want to skip ahead, here's the time code. I wouldn't say it spoiled anything, but just in case. The last episode of the series is so painfully reminiscent of the latter half of Glee. It's clear Murphy has a love for New York and everything that it represents, but not every angsty college student needs to go to New York. Putting all the main characters in a city across the country feels forced, and the blatant setup for a second season is kind of a turnoff. I appreciate shows where the story contains itself in one season. If it's good, we, the audience, will want more. Not every show has to end on a cliffhanger. With all that in mind, do I recommend The Politician? Sort of. Like I said, I really enjoyed the series to the point that I binged it in a day and a half. I had no idea what to expect coming from it, but it definitely kept me entertained. The Politician is funny and modern, and it explores current topics of representation in politics, which is good, but the show is far from perfect. So in recommending it, my big conflict is that it ends on a cliffhanger. So many shows do that, and I would wait until the second season comes out to truly give the show your attention. It's already gonna be filmed, so you might as well wait to see if it actually has a decent enough ending. But then it's only got 10 episodes in the first season, so that's a plus. It's pretty short. But that's what I thought of The Politician. Have you watched it? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to talk about it. And leave a like if you liked the review. I'm back to doing more of a scripted, formatted sort of video, and I'm really enjoying being back in front of the camera. And if there are any other streaming movies or series you want me to check out, feel free to let me know in the comments down below or on any of my socials. I would love to chat with you there. But that's it from me today, guys. I hope you will see me next time. Peace.